I haven't played every Disgaea game out there, and even the ones that I have played, I haven't finished all of them. Like, I never ended up beating D2 or 3. But Disgaea 1 is definitely my favorite, and it's not even close. Like, I've beaten 2 a couple times. That one's good. I beat 5. I checked it out from the library and beat it. It was fun, but I'll always want to come back to 1 just because it's the most... I can't even really say it's the most complete experience because the gameplay kind of blows. So it would go under my list of games that I like for reasons that aren't the gameplay, kind of like Persona 5 and Undertale. This game has a lot of stuff in it that I do like, and I wish that more of the series was like it.
Okay, I beat 1 and 2, and I tried to play D2, but I couldn't stand it, because the story is fucking terrible.
I honestly don't even remember what the story even is, aside from Laharl has a sister now. I didn't even know that D2 existed until I was in college. One of my classmates was like, hey, do you like Disgaea? And I was like, yeah, I guess. He's like, did you see the new one, Disgaea D2? I was like, didn't 2 come out in 2006 or something? He's like, no, D2. I was like, oh shit, a sequel to the first game? And then, yeah, I was disappointed shortly after.
I couldn't actually say if the story is bad. It's just that what I played of it was just mostly filler things of people being annoying, characters acting out of character, and yeah, that new sister character I remember being kind of annoying. Also, it had a weird mobile game mechanic where you put a unit into training and then wait.
I feel like you might have gotten further than I did because I don't remember that at all.
I only got 3 chapters, I feel like, to be honest.
Yeah, that might have been further than me.
Well, anyway, 2 is also good. I don't think that the gameplay in 1 blows. I think it's fairly enjoyable.
Yeah, it doesn't suck. Just if you compare it to even Disgaea 2, I'll get into this more later, but I think Disgaea 1 to 2 is one of the biggest gameplay improvements in a series of all time. 1 isn't bad, but 2 just completely blows it out of the water.
I honestly would feel like a big reason of that is just presentation. The fact that skills don't take forever in that game helps a lot in making it fun, I think.
Oh yeah, the punchiness definitely helps, but there's also the fact that all of the classes are actually usable and not just intended to be direct upgrades from one another. Abilities existing in general is a big example of that.
Yeah, but 2 has the thing that we don't like where, at least in the later game, it starts doing a lot of geo puzzles.
Yeah, that's also true. Well, before we started talking about the game, Nippon Ichi was kind of a throw shit at the wall to see what sticks company, right? Because recently, and by recently I mean the past couple of years, they've made those Nippon Ichi collection games that have all their old games, the Hysteric Kingdom, Soul Nomad, Phantom Brave, Rhapsody. They were just making a shit ton of games that looked very similar to one another, all throughout the PS2, and was it also PS1? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, the early, mid PlayStation days.
As far as I can tell, Disgaea 1 is made on the same sort of framework that the PS1 games they made were, which is why it looks like a PS1 game, kinda.
Yeah, it's kind of muddy and dark. I actually did, this is a side note, but I actually did get the one with Phantom Brave and Soul Nomad. Phantom Brave kept crashing repeatedly before I could save, and it starts with a really long, unskippable cutscene. And also, I tried to play, I hope the game's called Soul Nomad. Wait, yeah, Soul Nomad and the World Eaters. I tried to play that game, and it was cool. I really liked the setup, but, I just couldn't make progress after a while, and Phantom Brave kept crashing, so that was a waste of $40. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. I'm really surprised that Disgaea has lasted as long as it has, with as many games as it does, with 8 main games in the series as of this recording, a visual novel, a mobile gacha game that I think shut down, and 2 really difficult action platformers.
It is weird because After 1, they, I guess, were starting to go for mass appeal by making it more and more anime, so that just kind of worked for them. Disgaea 1 definitely made them like a shit ton of money, because Disgaea 2 feels like it has a lot more people working on it.
Yeah, just a bigger budget in general.
Nippon Ichi, they put a decent amount of effort into like localizing their games to the point where like Rhapsody is a game where people sing a lot, and all of that is in English too.
You know, voice acting is one thing, but getting singers, actual singers for your game or any piece of media that isn't just like, we got this band to sing our the main theme of our game, like how Bamco does it for the Tales series. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, so the marketing for Disgaea 1 in North America seemed to sort of target like dweebs, anime likers, because the box art for Disgaea 1 on PS2. So usually what happens in anime games when they would get localized in this time period is that they would change the box art so that it's just like 1 or 2 characters, so that you can like know that it's anime, but it's not too crazy. It's just an anime face. I feel like Tales of Destiny on PS1 is a good example of that, where it's just, they made the box art in America just Stan's face.
I kind of like that box art, but in a bad way.
It feels like they actually were trying to market toward, like, as anime, and not just like, it happens to be anime.
I think the PS1 and PS2 were, like, specifically the PS1 and PS2, and not like that console generation, was when that was actually starting to take more of a hold in the worldwide gaming market. Because obviously the shit was always in Japan. Like, even the NES had, like, anime tie-in games that had a surprising amount of effort put into them. Or, you know, like, visual novel type stuff. But I think the Tales series, and as one example, was, like, a good breaking point for the West to be introduced to more and more anime games. I couldn't point to exactly, like, what game or games in particular actually, like, was the biggest influence, but I'd be willing to bet that companies like Namco and Nippon Ichi were 2 of the bigger companies trying to do it. Incidentally, this video is assuming that anybody watching this is at least somewhat familiar with Disgaea 1. Like, we're just going to be talking about random stuff that we like about Disgaea 1, so there's just going to be spoilers. If you really care about the story, there's like a 4-hour video on YouTube where you can just watch the cutscenes.
Anyway, the point is that eventually it became too anime.
Yes. We get to, again, I haven't played most of 3 or any of 4, because again, I beat 5, that game is mega anime, and then 6 and 7 seem to just kind of keep doubling down on it, so I know that the series isn't for me anymore, which is a bummer, but it is what it is.
Also, Disgaea 1 is the only anime game with no anime opening.
Oh yeah, never thought about that.
It just has a PNG of Laharl that slides.
It's a really tall PNG, or JPEG for what that's worth.
Yeah.
Because I think I want to start with the gameplay first, because that's what I like the least about this game. Like I mentioned, Disgaea 2 has an argument for, like, most improved sequel gameplay-wise of all time. But while Disgaea 1's gameplay isn't bad, it's definitely... I don't even know how to really describe it, because there's a lot of nuances to it, like reincarnation and like weapon mastery and innocence and stuff. So it's not like there's no effort put into the sequel, but it's incredibly imbalanced, to put it lightly.
Yes.
It's hilariously imbalanced, and most of it is probably intentional. Like, swords are far and away the best weapon type. The Majin is deliberately the best class in the game. Monsters being basically completely useless, I don't know if that's intentional. They don't feel like they were intended to be made recruitable until, like, way late in the development period. And they were just like, well, whatever, why not? Because they all have 100% aptitude and everything. They have no magic weapons. They can't get weapon mastery. So they only have their 4 skills. Yeah.
I literally never made a monster, so I didn't even know that they all had 100% aptitude and everything.
The only one that doesn't is that those galactic demons that have like 2 move. They're the only ones that have 150% in the...
Is that the ones with the lightsabers?
Yeah, the ones that you grind on late game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they give the most EXP, and they're the only ones with more than 100% in a stat. Most classes are meant to be direct upgrades to each other. I don't think you're intended to have your starting warriors and martial artists for the whole game. You're intended to like upgrade them to the ninja or shinobi or magic knight or whatever, because the fucking shinobi, for some ungodly reason, like her class 1 starts with an A in swords, spears, and axes. So it's like whatever specialized characters you had before, just combine them into one character now.
I think the massive imbalancedness, one of the best examples of that is the fact that Laharl is just way too good.
Yes.
And you can just solo the whole game with just him.
Yes. You might get into some trouble when you start doing the post-game, but it is very easy to, just take Laharl and his amazing stats and him being good with swords.
Yeah, that's another thing. If you just have a pupil with a sword, even that is gonna get you really far if it's just the one guy. Because my run that I did was basically just one character, like 1.5 characters basically, and just having a sword made that possible.
It's funny that the Magic Knight combines the two best things in the game, being swords and magic, and is actually kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
They went a little too hard on the red maginess. It's interesting that they actually have a unique thing. Like, despite the fact that this game is pretty bare bones and most classes are very similar to each other because abilities don't exist yet, the fact that Magic Knights have a chance to automatically cast a spell after doing a regular attack is very strange to me. Same thing with the Thief class being the only character that can steal stats and can get above 50% steal rate.
Oh, yeah, stealing. I'm gonna write that down because that's funny.
I didn't even write anything down about stealing, but that fucking sucks. Stealing is so bad.
So in terms of pupil characters having like the 6 ranks, I assume that that's a thing that's, at least partially, is a thing where, because you can only get the higher ranks when lower ranks are high enough level, right?
Yes, except for monsters where you just have to kill the higher ranks. Again, adding to that, like, I don't think they were supposed to be recruitable at first thing.
So because of that, you're probably not going to be like, oh, I'm going to make another gunner, and he's going to be the higher rank. At least somewhat maybe is to encourage you to use reincarnation.
I think so, yeah.
So the thing is, this game is almost kind of like Stranger of Paradise for me, where during the main game, it's exciting to like, even though characters aren't really that different from each other, it's still exciting to like find new ones and see what like colors the next rank is going to be and all that stuff, and reincarnating to the better units and all that. And then after you beat the game and you're in the post-game, reincarnation and all the mechanics just become stressful because the game becomes min-max or fucking give up.
And even then, okay, all that kind of ties into my thing about how Nippon Ichi really fucked themselves by making a game entirely around big numbers. Because that's why Disgaea 6 exists and is as maligned as it is. Well, not why, but it's a contributor. It's like, the numbers actually got too big. And after a certain point, the only stat that matters at all is attack, because it scales way harsher than any of your other stats. So yeah, you have to like min-max the shit out of all of your stats, or out of your attack specifically, just to... Because if you don't one-shot something, then you're gonna get one-shot, and no amount of HP increasing is gonna, like, stop that.
That's another thing about late game / post game Disgaea is you can't survive, you just need to use people as bait. Everything's going to die in one hit, so you just have to like put a meat shield in front of you. That's how I won the ball fight, I think. I just like took out my level 1 units and made him fight those while I like hit his back.
Yeah, because the AI... This game kind of has a Pokemon AI, like Gen 1 AI thing, where the enemy AI will always automatically go for whoever weakest. Because when I played Disgaea DS in my original file, that's how I beat a lot of the Cave of Ordeal. What's after Cave of Ordeals? Demon Hall Mirror?
Yes.
That's how I beat a lot of the Demon Hall Mirror things, was that I had like my 3 or 4 actual units, and then I just sent out shit units for the AI to kill while I beat on them with my actual characters. For the record, it's worth mentioning that even though I've played Disgaea 1 like way more than you have and for way longer, you are the one who has actually beaten Ball. I've never actually done that. I always give up grinding.
I guess the way you know you like did everything in the game is when you go to the Dark Record and it says crushed.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I'll find a picture of it.
Because Laharl's supposed to get a new title, right? He gets the Tyrant title.
That's when you beat Ball specifically.
There's also Prinny Ball.
Yeah, I don't think I did that because it's impossible.
Go grind 9 more characters to have a fair fight. They really doubled down on the ball thing too, because when I was playing Disgaea 5, I just wanted to see what the ball fight was like because it's really easy to unlock, even though I knew I wouldn't be able to do it. They upped the ante in Disgaea 5 because you take like 1 trillion damage when you take someone out of the fucking base panel.
What?
So
just so it's like as soon as they come out they get hit, you mean?
Yeah, literally you press A and then a huge damage number appears over the character and they're just dead instantly. Like it's still your turn. So at that point I knew like, okay, I'm not going to be doing any extra stuff. But I mean, again, I was checking the game out from the library, so I was content to just do the main story, do some extra stuff if I had the time, and I did do some extra stuff.
I loaded up Etna mode. I forgot it had a different lobby music.
I also forgot that. I never beat... this is a side note. What the hell is up with Etna mode? Why do the levels scale so fucking fast? There's no point for the first chapter to be like default levels, like level 5 to 10, and then immediately chapter 2 starts hitting you with like level 40 to 50 guys.
Honestly, I think the whole thing is just a stupid joke, just through and through.
And it's only like 5 chapters long too, right? Like I
think it's 4 chapters long.
Wow, that was overestimating.
Also, the final chapter is called Chronicles of Etnarnia. Wait, real quick, it looks weird in PC for some reason, but that's the screen that I'm talking about.
Oh, that's cool. You did kill.
Oh wait, I did kill Prinny Ball.
Yeah,
How?
You did it.
Wait, maybe Ball was the easy one and Prinny Ball was the super hard one.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, my bad.
You beat Ball, and then you do the stage again, and he's Prinny Ball.
What is with the fucking order of this, where Ball is the last one? Oh, no, wait, it's left, right.
Yeah, left, right.
In that case, I'm surprised that the cameo characters come before and aren't just stapled on afterward.
That's true.
Prinny God killed, that's not particularly challenging.
Yeah. That's another weird thing about the monster types is that there's only 5 Prinnies, and he's the only character that there's not 6 of, so it makes me wonder if internally, Prinny Curtis, I wonder if he's like secretly labeled as the 6th Prinny type.
I kind of doubt it. I think he's just a monster that has a Prinny spray.
You could throw him and he explodes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Prinny Ball is the only one that isn't like that.
Can I talk about stealing?
Yes.
So, stealing is how I beat Ball, because...
I assume that's where most of his stats come from, is his bullshit equipment.
Not only do you get to steal amazing equipment, he just doesn't have it anymore, so you, basically have his stats, and then just destroy his ass. But killing him is essentially a coin flip, where it's like, oh, did I get the steal? No? Okay, reset. I'm dead.
I assume you did not make a level, fucking 5,000 Thief.
I just did it with my own force of will. I assume Thief can get up to 100%.
Max is 99. There's always a 1% chance of failure.
But yeah, the fact that stealing is like that is silly, kind of overpowered. But it's fun, in games like this where sometimes obstacles feel absolutely insurmountable. It's like the biggest dopamine adrenaline rush to be like, wait a minute, I can do that. You figure out some critical weakness in the Nazi military, okay. And you win the war. Oh yeah, so about big-ass numbers. I like numbers going up, but this game doesn't have any commas, which is annoying because, for example, this is what my money was at the end of the game, and God fucking knows what number that actually is.
That's actually a problem that persists for the entire series, even to this day, with 7 being out, is that, a few days ago I was looking up Steam reviews of Disgaea 6 and 7, and 6 is the bigger numbers game, where, your character's level 1 stats are already in the tens of thousands. Actually, a complaint that came up more than once was that people were like, the numbers are really hard to read because they never start below 5 digits.
That seems dumb, because, a big part of the rewarding aspect that you started a little shitty with, 1 attack.
Yeah. What's funny is that it's kind of like a Tetris scoring kind of thing, because like your default weapon has like 10,000 attack, but then the second weapon will have like 10,005. So we haven't gone anywhere. We've just inflated the numbers by several thousand arbitrarily.
I thought you were going to say they just attach some zeros on the end, which would be more readable.
That, yeah, if you could just subtract like a few zeros, that might be ideal.
Like I said, I basically just used one character, and at the end it was like a 40 times reincarnated Majin.
Holy shit, these things are going off the fucking box.
Yeah. Actually, I really like how the super duper end game, you just got the golden coin items just go off of the box.
Wait, why the hell does he have 99 move?
Because the hyperdrive just gives you 99 move and 99 jump.
Oh.
The hyperdrive is the thing that lets you teleport to a space.
Alright.
I don't think it's actually 99. I think it is just like infinite. It just says 99.
Only 5 counters, though. That's weak shit.
Yeah. I think I just like at a certain point I fully gave up on Dark Assembly stuff because my blood pressure was way too high at that point, so I just stopped trying to get extra counters.
It's funny that you say that, because my next point is that the Dark Assembly is completely... Well, I can't say irreparably because future games improve on it, but the Dark Assembly in this game is completely fucked.
Well, yeah, with this character, I could just, like, kill every senator every time, but it's just so boring.
That's the problem, is that it's, like, plausible to pass some cheap bills early game, but it almost very quickly becomes impossible to pass anything, because you can't bring your warehouse into the Dark Assembly. You can only bring your shitty little, like, 16-item bag to bribe people with. First of all, there's way more than 16 senators. Second, it's not even guaranteed that the senators will like the items that you have, because it's completely random. Future games, certain monster types like certain kinds of weapons. In this game, it's completely random. Even if you have a full thing of items and all the senators like all of your items, giving a senator an item that they love will not dramatically impact their favor at all. And sometimes the thing just straight up lies to you. It'll say like, oh, they're very likely to say yes, and then they'll just say no anyway. So
Yeah.
The whole Dark Assembly process is just completely fucked. And it's not very hard to become like strong enough to kill every single senator really easily. So you just pass every bill by killing everyone, which takes like 10 fucking minutes because the level is so big and you have to wait for everyone to like walk over to you.
Yeah.
And every time you reincarnate, because you have to reincarnate a lot, you have to repass the higher move, higher counterattack bills every single time.
So the senators, I just typed reincarnations. The senator's affection was kind of confusing to me because sometimes I would kill one and it would still love me. Maybe I just had him love me so hard that killing him reduced it, but it was still high.
The senators actually do remember you. I don't know if the game intends you to be bring a bunch of items, just get everyone's affinity up, and then just give up on the bill if it fails.
I remember somebody saying that that's what the 10 mana one that's extort senators or whatever, where it always fails. Somebody said that the reason that exists is just as fodder to give people items a bunch.
You think?
I guess it's not a bad theory. I don't know if that's intentional, but...
I would believe that it's just a joke. I don't know if I would believe that it's intentionally there for, donation fodder. But I guess you can use it as that, so it works.
Because you can always do it, even if you're rank 0, right?
Yeah.
So having one of the only options when you don't even know what the Dark Assembly is yet, always failing, does feel weird.
Yeah, it's the first one, and I think it's visible before you even start scrolling.
Yeah, so I don't know, that maybe there was an ulterior motive.
I think the worst part about the Dark Assembly, for me, because I have so much time spent on my Disgaea DS playthrough doing this, is that the increase-decrease enemy strength bills, you have to do them one at a time.
Oh, yeah.
And there's fucking, I don't even know, there's between 12 and 16 enemy strength levels. So if you want to level grind, you have to fucking do a dozen or more of these bills to get all the monsters up to max level, go to one of the 3 or 4 designated grinding maps, do that for a while, put the difficulty all the way back down again to see if you can finally beat Ball this time.
I think this contributes to something I actually like about Disgaea, which is that everything, mostly post-game, this kind of terrible shit, everything takes a lot of preparation and deliberation, because there was a lot of points where it was do I spend an hour setting the difficulty all the way back down so I can try this boss now, or do I keep grinding? That's actually why reincarnation becomes less cool and more just stressful in the post game, because you're like, do I want to do all of this again?
I will give it up to reincarnation though. I mean, I kind of hinted at this earlier, but it's very simple on the surface and like how you, the player, interact with it, but it's like surprisingly in-depth under the hood.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Pokemon thing where it's really complex, but that's just so it can work how they want it to, so that the stat growth can work how they want it to.
Do you have that picture of your stats going off the screen for that when you reincarnate?
Yes. Goes way out of the box into the cancel.
I love that.
Yeah, that's fun. We were just talking about this before, where this is definitely, in my opinion, something where they saw it and they were like, that's pretty funny, just keep that in.
I don't remember this being a thing so much in Disgaea 1, but it happens a lot in 2, where a character will like give you an item and the item is in square brackets. Like Adele got a subpoena from whatever, and the subpoena is in square brackets. Disgaea 1 wasn't like that, was it?
No.
Like, what happened there? Like, this doesn't matter at all. But even I think Disgaea 5 was like that when I played it. Is it just like a joke?
Maybe in Japanese, it does those like square Japanese quote things, and then they just turned it into square brackets. Doesn't Undertale do that?
Yes. At least Deltarune does.
There you go. It's because Deltarune did it.
The last thing I have to say about Dark Assembly is that, oh yeah, actually, no, the second to last thing I have to say is that every time you reincarnate, you also have to do the fights to, like, up your rank, so you can do, like, the better counters, more movement thing. What does the game call that?
Promotion exam?
Yeah, you have to keep doing the promotion exams.
Yeah, it sucks.
But anyway, so the actual last thing is that very rarely one of the castle NPCs can be a senator, and if you kill them in the Dark Assembly, then when you go back, there'll be a gravestone. And when that happened to me in Disgaea DS, I thought I just like completely fucked my game, so I just reloaded. But I'm pretty sure that if you save and reload, the NPC will come back.
Like, you can't even talk to the gravestone to do their service, it's just... they're just dead.
No, I can't remember what happened. Yeah, I don't remember what happens, but nothing notable. Because when it happened to me, it was my hospital person. I was like, well, I'm not gonna spend all of my money buying like 5 healing items at a time.
Ignoring reincarnation, promotion exams are kind of neat because each next one is considerably harder than the last. So when you are strong enough, it's exciting to do it and then see what new options you get. But considering reincarnation, having to do it over and over and over, it's not fun.
It's very difficult to do any of them in one turn, even the first one, because the enemies are far away. And for the first couple, because they're zombies, you're more likely to die of poison than the enemies being difficult.
Yeah.
Poison in general is just, like, fucking irritating. Actually, you know what? Real quick. I was saying how swords are the best. Would you say that bows are the worst weapon?
Probably.
They do basically no damage, and their specialty of inflicting status effects is minimized quite a bit by the existence of the specialists. Because, you know, you can just, like, put a bunch of poison dudes on a gun and then just shoot them from anywhere on the map, and then they're poisoned.
Why can I not remember what an innocent is?
The dudes on the weapons that you kill in the item world.
I thought those were just called specialists.
Okay, I googled Disgaea Innocence, and then the specialist page came up. Okay, no, they're called they're called specialists in the first game, and then later renamed to Innocence. I'll just call them specialists for consistency's sake. Just put a bunch of poison specialists on your gun, or deprave, or sleep, or whatever. I mean, any enemy that's actually worth fighting is probably immune to status anyway. It's like, bows are really bad, fists are pretty bad, spears are regular bad.
I never tried to use status effects.
Axes are probably good. I used one in my file, like one of my 4 characters. Like my 4 characters that I use, I had 2 sword users, an axe user, and a magic user. So axes are probably fine. What's the last one I haven't said? Alright, guns.
Books.
Oh, not books. Guns are also good.
The Yoshitsuna, which is the ultimate sword there, has like a range of like 3 or something.
I thought it was a 5.
I'm trying to find it right now. Yeah, it is 5.
Nice.
So the thing about ranged weapons is that when you're hit from a range, you can counter from a range too, which is like extremely good.
But again, I mean, by the time you get these weapons and items, you probably don't need
Well,
them.
I mean, I'm talking about guns, basically. I just brought up the Yoshitsuna because, like, also combined with sword damage, it's just too good.
Yeah.
Also, on the note of when I said Disgaea 1, you have to be very deliberate and planned about everything, is that, like, to get the hyperdrive, you have to defeat an item god 2 at the end of a rank 40 item, and you have to have never left the item.
Wait, actually?
Yeah, you have to do all 100 floors in one go, and you have to hope that all of those floors are completable. Just because of that, you need to bring in like some moderately strong people so they can throw you if need be and not get killed. Because yeah, in the item world, you wrote here that it's 40 to 60% you can't pass, but I don't think it's that bad. I did the hyperdrive run in one try.
You actually beat every floor? Like, killed all the enemies?
Oh, you mean like killing all... Okay, no.
Yeah, because after that I wrote a small percent are barely able to get to the next level. I actually, honestly, I think 40 to 60% is being generous of, like... Well, I'll back up a second. The item world is a great idea that is implemented in just such a fucked up way because the random world generation will just so often make unclearable levels. Most of the time, like 99.9% of the time, you will be able to get to the next level portal, but actually beating all of the enemies is a crapshoot because I actually have lost count of the amount of times where I've, like, killed all the enemies in the surrounding, like, platform and even, like, maybe another platform, like, a few throwing tiles away. And then I beat all the enemies, I'm like, what the fuck? And then I scroll out, like, 60 tiles and there's just some random shithead floating in the middle of the fucking abyss.
Yeah.
I actually, when I'm recording footage for this game, I want to see how long it'll take for me to find footage of that happening, because I guarantee it will not take very long.
I like the idea of the item world, and I like specialists. I like how they treat specialists with special items, where if an item's gimmick is that it like can poison you, it just has a higher chance to have poison specialists on it. I like that idea where it gives you it and then you can subdue the specialists to make that aspect of it better.
Or put it on something else.
There's also, because a weapon can only have so many specialists, and some are like just the best, you just never use a bunch of them. Like you always want to have a statistician and an arms master one, and probably a gladiator one.
Yeah, I wish that it was only special effects and not stats.
Also, I think there is scaling to it, because my Yoshitsuna had like a 2000 gladiator, but it was definitely giving me more than 2000 attack.
That's how weapon mastery works.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the higher your weapon mastery with a weapon, the more stats you'll get from one stat point. And Disgaea 5, I don't know when this was introduced, but Disgaea 5 has armor mastery. I don't remember how it works at all because, again, I barely messed with the Disgaea 5 post-game. I just made my team beat it, and then I was like, okay. That was fun. Yeah, this is like a little side thing. At a certain point, the series actually got rid of weapon skills. I mean, maybe they're still in the game, but they might be like character specific. I can at least say that Disgaea 1 has that over future games.
As far as I can tell, though, it seems like they change how getting moves works a lot.
In this game, you just use use skills to make them stronger, and the stronger they get, the more they cost, you know, simple. In 5, when you level up a skill, the only thing it does is decrease the SP cost, because you have to go to a separate store in the hub world to increase the power of skills, and increasing it even a little bit multiplies the SP cost by a shit ton. So you have to use the weapon skills a lot.
Are there more than like 6 per weapon?
I can't remember. I think there's like 7 or 8 now, or there was in 5, but again, it's been a long time. I think Disgaea 5 is like the last game on my Switch game list, so it's been the longest since I've played it.
Well, skills in this game are pretty straightforwardly just, it's an attack that has this area of effect.
Swords have a wide range of damages and effects. Axes, I think, exclusively hit the guy in front of you for big damage. Spear skills move you. Fist skills move the enemy. Bows inflict statuses, and guns... I don't even know, do guns like have a unified kind of theme? Or is it just hit the guy like 3 to 4 tiles away a lot.
Fists moving the enemy is actually like disadvantageous for doing combos.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why. It's like, the fact that it's based on your attack and speed is something I didn't know for a long time, but that's like bad enough. The actual killer is that if you want to use a fist skill, it has to be done last. And that's really lame. But I can't fault them for trying.
As a side note, it's weird to me that ninjas' best things are fists and axes. What kind of ninja uses an axe?
I assume they didn't want to give him good with swords because that would be overlapping with the shinobi. What is that? What is the lady called? Is it shinobi?
It's a Ronin. Ronin, Samurai, Bushi, Kengo, Blade Master, Shogun. He still has a B in swords, though.
Oh yeah, the ninja's special thing is that he has a flat 50% chance to dodge basic attacks, I think. The game doesn't tell you that, though.
Oh yeah, and then you can also dodge healing, right?
Yes. Maybe it's just 50% chance to dodge anything at all. But yeah, he definitely can dodge healing. That happened to me a lot in DS.
The way higher rank characters treat, like, what is the weapon grade called?
I don't remember.
What is called the weapon grade, I guess.
Yeah.
The way it treats that is kind of weird to me, because sometimes it makes sense, like, all the ninjas have an A in axes, but then the final one has an S, so it's like, okay, that's neat. But then there's stuff like the level 4 and onward priest has a D instead of an E in fists.
Yeah.
It's like, who fucking cares?
That is a peculiarity. And what's also strange is that Disgaea 1 obfuscates it. Disgaea 5 made it a little more obvious, but it's not actually just E through S. It's actually 1 through 30 or something.
Oh.
But it's like E is 1 through 5, D is 6 through 10, so it's something like that. I don't know the number specifically. So even though it says E and D and C, some characters are still imperceptibly better at them than others. I think eventually the series just ditches weapon aptitude altogether because there really is no point. If a character has an E, D, or even a C, you're not going to be using that weapon. It should just be, like, yes or no, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you also have the Thief, which has, his highest stat is a C, but that's the exception.
Honestly, the characters not even being that different, and one of the only things differentiating them being you basically can't use some weapons is kind of lame. But I get what they were going for.
I actually can't believe I forgot to write this down, but it especially sucks for healers because healing does not give experience.
Oh yeah.
At a certain point, you don't need a healer because you don't need healing because everything dies in one hit. But in DS, what I did was I made a sword person, grinded their weapon mastery up so they got Winged Slayer, and then I reincarnated them to a healer only to find out that you don't inherit all of your weapon mastery. That's what that percent means when you're reincarnating someone, is how much weapon mastery you inherit.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, fuck, I guess I gotta reload and then, like, go 20 to 50% higher than I thought I was supposed to. This is where Arms Masters come in handy, but I had to give my goddamn healer Winged Slayer just so that they could keep up.
Yeah, it is good that, like, healing doesn't matter after a while, because trying to grind a healer would suck ass. I didn't try at all. Like, you can give healers, like, spells, like fire and stuff.
Yeah, and on the flip side, because in future games, healing's based on your resist, but in this game it's based on int, so you can just, like, make a mage and give them a healer pupil, give them Giga Heal, because it doesn't take very long to get to the Giga spells, and then you're good. But
yeah.
If you have a dedicated healer, then it sucks. Actually, speaking of the mages, that's like the only point where it's actually not ideal to get to the higher ranked classes, because the base mages and the star mage are the only ways to learn the Terra spells. That's the only, like, example of it not being optimal to make a better unit. Very weird.
Yeah, the mages. I kind of like how the mages aren't just better than each other.
Well, the Galaxy Mage is strictly better than the Prism Mage, but that's the one exception.
Well, I guess I like that eventually it is just the best one, but up to that point, you can't just linearly upgrade, or else you're not going to get everything.
The star magic also just confuses me. It makes sense to have a neutral element, because, fucking Final Fantasy has flare, just as one random example. But, I don't think there's any enemy in this game that has resistance to all three, unless you're really, really fucking unlucky with the enemy specialists. So, star being an element that can neutrally hit anything is basically completely inferior to even just having a Prism Mage. And then, in Disgaea 5, or just the future games, star becomes its own element with resistances and vulnerabilities. So, I don't get it.
Huh. The unit names were always funny to me in this game because I just kind of don't. So for some reason the Majin is just Majin, Mega Majin, Giga Majin, Omega Majin. But basically everything else, as far as I can tell, is like all over the place. Like for some reason the 5th rank gunner is a Geomaster, which makes sense. And the 6th rank one is Lord. Which I don't understand. The 6th rank flying hell pepper dude is just called a demon.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Daemon. Anyway, back on the item world for a second. It's kind of funny that you get the hyperdrive, which lets you teleport anywhere, pretty much like after you're done going to the item world ever, because once you kill an item god 2, that's probably like the last thing you're in the item world for. But I did use the hyperdrive to level up the Yoshitsuna, which is the ultimate sword that you get from stealing. You steal it from an item god and a cosmic blade or whatever.
Yeah, for the rank 40 stuff, you always have to go into a legendary rank 39 one, right? And steal it from the item god.
Also, Yoshitsune, I think, is named after the director of the game or something, which I didn't know.
Is that not the one where the description says, like, just to get the damn jewel shards or something?
No.
There's like an ultimate weapon in one of the Disgaea games where the sword is named after the something in Inuyasha, where the plot of Inuyasha is that they're supposed to collect jewel shards, but then the show ends and they never actually did that. Or the series ends, I mean. And apparently one of the Disgaeas makes reference to that. I've never seen it myself, I'm just going off of what one of my friends said once. I know nothing about Inuyasha.
I'm on my file. For some reason I have 2 Yoshitsunas.
Damn, alright.
Anyway, when I was going to level up the Yoshitsune to 100, I used the hyperdrive, and it felt great to just teleport around and totally ignore the item world, basically. So I'm really happy that I only decided to play the game with basically one character, because the idea of grinding as much as I did for many characters would be fucking terrible. So I cleared the Cave of Ordeal 3 this many times. And I would say like half of them I did with my own body, and it actually takes like true mental endurance to do it that many times, like over and over and over again, and not like break into a cold sweat and throw up. So at a certain point I just decided to write an auto hotkey script to do the map over and over again for me, and that was the most fun by far I ever had while grinding in the game, was writing that script, because it was like, I guess that could be considered cheating, but honestly I think it's called human ingenuity.
If the game can be played this way, then there's something wrong. Or if it's like optimal to play the game this way. One of the biggest reasons that Disgaea 6 is maligned is because the game literally has auto battle, so you just grind, so the game grinds for you anyway. It takes all the ingenuity out of it.
Let's get down to the core of the gameplay of Disgaea. So the reason I don't like geo puzzles is because I like that geo stuff is sort of a complement to fighting enemies in Disgaea 1, whereas in the later games it seems like it's you solve the puzzle and enemies are also there. So the thing is, it feels like Disgaea 1 has this progression to me where it goes slowly from like tactical to blow everything up all the time, and I like that. And having geo puzzles that are the whole focus of the game just entirely removes that. Because it feels like they acknowledge that it's not like a crazy good like tactical game. The point of the game is to just get so strong that you shit your pants. So they lean into that.
Future Disgaea games do lean way too heavily on geo shit, but really part of the problem is that just in future games the maps are too long and there's way too much geo shit. Those two things individually aren't terrible, but combined they make for a ungodly grueling process.
Yeah, the later maps in Disgaea 2 aren't great in my opinion. The later maps in Disgaea 1 can be long, but I don't know, I like them more for some reason.
Shout out to the one map on the fucking giant Earth battleship that you can beat in one turn if you just stack your guys on top of each other and throw them to the exit.
Oh yeah.
I'll go into more detail about why I don't like that map later, but...
I kinda can't think of much else to say about the gameplay, though.
Yeah, not really. We talked about it for about an hour, and that's about it.
Post-game is just mental endurance. Can you grind, or will you die in the process? It's kind of interesting how much different the post-game is from the main game, where the main game feels like you're... I guess it's interesting that, for me, it feels like the strategy of the game doesn't come from being in the maps, it comes from preparing yourself to do 100 floors of hell, or whatever, that kind of stuff. It's just about preparation.
Mental preparation more than anything else.
Need commas. Seriously, look at that EXP.
You know, I mean, post-game does have some interesting stuff in it, like the fact that you fight Priere, Marjorie, Adele, Rosalind. Although it's weird that none of them have any dialogue.
Yeah, they never talk.
I think Zeta does, but I can't remember. Because you don't fight him in the Demon Hall mirror. You just fight him randomly in an existing stage when you turn the difficulty to max.
He's just like in a lake.
Weird as hell. There is some cool things, but they're like little blips in the radar as opposed to the most of the game, which is just the uncaring grind. Well, yeah, I can move on to the shortest part, which will be the art style.
Yes. Which I find very good.
The art style, like, this is a thing that I am 100% certain on, is that this has my favorite Disgaea art style out of the whole series. Even Disgaea 2. I mean, the future games don't look bad, but I just love the darker colors. Like, again, the future games don't look bad, but they just have so much less energy in the visual novel style cutscenes that it's just, like, not as fun to watch.
Yeah, also, cutscenes will either use, like, this game has actual, like, world sprites where they have expressions and stuff, and they'll sometimes do portraits and they'll sometimes just do it like the unit sprite stuff, but they do avoid the yeek swing set scene thing where the portrait and the unit are in focus. So it's like there's just two of them. I really like the interface design in this game where it's all beige and has like drawer opening sounds.
Yeah, because Disgaea PC, I'm really glad they give you the option to use the old PS2 like menu HUD, because I don't like looking at the new HUD. It's way too clean for how grimy the rest of the game looks.
I like that it sort of accentuates the idea that you're, at the end of the day, just like a member of public office.
Disgaea 1, I think it's Disgaea 1 Complete, is basically the worst possible scenario in terms of like what I would want from a Disgaea 1 re-release. Thank fucking god that Disgaea PC wasn't yanked off of the Steam marketplace, because Disgaea 1 Complete takes the modern Disgaea graphic style, which I don't like, but keeps the shitty, like, old Disgaea 1 gameplay with no improvements from the future games.
Does Disgaea 1 Complete just have new sprites and that's literally it?
If it added anything, I don't know what. Because, yeah, as far as I know, it's just a visual. And, like, the visual overhaul goes to the point where they replace some of the Disgaea 1 units with future game units, but they still function the same. So it's like, you know, the dudes from the, the Hell Pepper guys, whatever they're called. They're replaced with another enemy visually, but statistically and, like, skill-wise, they're the old enemy. So, like, why? I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Disgaea 1 Complete other than that Mega 64 made a commercial for it. Actually, multiple commercials.
It was like a 1-2 punch where it was like 50% of my interest was gone when I saw the art style, and the other 50% was gone when I saw that there was no gameplay improvements. I don't know who it's for. I can only assume it's a tax write-off.
I don't know, it just kind of looks like a graphical mod that somebody could make.
Oh yeah, kind of like how somebody made a visual mod of Paper Mario 64 to make it look like the Sticker Star and Onwards games, where it has like the fucking white outline, and it's like horrible and ugly.
Like Rakugaki Showdown.
Yeah, kind of, but that game looks good, is the difference.
The unit sprites are obviously really good, and the muted colors are all great, but the stages themselves are actually like quite ugly.
Like in a bad way or in a good way?
In a bad way.
Okay.
It's kind of like low poly terrain with textures stretched over it, and the textures aren't very good. It looks very like not like a PS2 game. at all.
I guess when I say that I like the art style, I'm specifically talking about the characters. Because, yeah, the environment design is lacking.
Everything besides the environments, I think, is great. Disgaea PC added a thing where you can have, like, new graphics for the environments, and they're kind of not great either, so I don't know.
Yeah, I just keep everything on old shitty graphics because it's what I'm used to.
Yeah, I'm happy they let you do all the old stuff.
Let me go to Steam real quick. Do they let you buy both versions of Disgaea 1? Or was Disgaea 1 complete for consoles only? Because I played the Prinny games recently, whenever you play a Switch game for the first time, your news feed gets dumped with like every single piece of news the game has ever had. And I got alerted that Disgaea 7 Complete came out recently. Like, actually recently, like earlier this year. And I was like, wait, really? Complete? I thought Disgaea 7 came out like fucking yesterday. But no, yeah, Complete came out. And, well, I thought that was kind of shitty because they have a ton of DLC and they're overpriced. If you own base Disgaea 7, you can upgrade to Complete for like $5 or something.
No.
Which is way better than fucking... Like, Atlas is still doing the 90s, 2000s Capcom thing where they just make you buy a new game every time they make a little upgrade. Like, apparently SMT5 Vengeance is really good, but if you bought base SMT5, you're just fucked. Thanks for buying the inferior game, shithead. Give us $70 more. The only version of Disgaea 1 on Steam is PC, so I guess that was a console thing only. It's also $3.99 right now. I mean, it won't be by the time this video comes out, but $3.99 for Disgaea 1 is a great deal.
I think Disgaea PC is based on the PSP version, so it doesn't have the stuff that DS added.
I actually think the only thing that PC is missing is the Prinny Day commentary from the touchscreen, or from the top screen. So technically DS is the definitive version of Disgaea 1, but you have to deal with even uglier graphics and music that is so bad that it actually can't play certain notes.
Yeah, they basically took the MIDI data from the project files of the original game's music and put them into like the DS game with whatever instruments, and some of the instruments can't hit high enough pitches that they're supposed to be hitting. Because DS was the first one I played, and I think you said this similar thing, and then I heard the original music, I was like, wow, this is so upgraded.
Yeah, because I didn't even know that it was a PS2 game. I don't know what I thought it was. Well, actually, here's the order of what I played the games in, is that I played Disgaea DS first, and then I played Disgaea 2 at a friend's house on his actual PS2, and I was thinking, like, wow, this music is fucking a huge improvement from the first game. And then I played, I think, the PSP version of Disgaea 1, and I was like, wow, this music is, like, amazing.
I really want to know what happened to the music in DS, like why they decided to just not give a fuck.
World Ends With You, basically your, like, go-to for, like, you can have good music in a DS game.
Even if you want it to be sequenced, it could sound way better. Yeah, the music in Disgaea 1 is way different from the rest of the series. The music in Disgaea 1 is like a wonky, stupid army, like marching music, sort of. It has a lot of like snare rolls and marching band stuff going on. It's like, I don't know what else to say besides marching music. It's honestly not anime like at all, for the most part. But then everything after Disgaea 1 is just anime. Because at least in Disgaea 2, the art style was still kind of dark. They didn't ease into it with the music at all. It just became anime.
It's still good music, but it's not the same. I don't know who the composers are for the series, but if it's the same person, that would be very surprising to me.
It is the same person, yeah. It's the same person for
wow.
all the games. Like, he also sings in some of the songs. He sings Axel's theme.
Does he sing the fucking Curtis's theme?
Actually, yeah.
Oh god.
He's an alright singer, I guess.
I mean, yeah, that song, his singing, I'm not saying oh god because, like, his singing voice is bad. I've just heard that song way too much.
When I first heard that song, I was like, oh, this is cool. And then the vocals kicked in, and I was like, oh, Jesus, what?
Where did this come from? I'm glad you're here to talk about, like, how the music is, because I'm really bad at talking about music. I would just be like, the music is different in 1, and then just stop there.
The thing is, Disgaea 2's soundtrack is still good. I'm getting to the point where I, like, can't handle JRPG soundtracks where it's, quote, orchestra, where it's like an orchestra, but it has a power drum kit and the guitars, which is like when Final Fantasy IV did it, it was like cool, and then Phantom Brave did it and it wasn't cool anymore. No, but like when I think of games that are like that in their soundtrack, for some reason Phantom Brave always comes to mind. But Disgaea 1 avoided doing that. It's just orchestra. It's like maybe more anime Final Fantasy 12 type music, where it's like actually feels like it's orchestrated with sections in mind and stuff.
I kind of feel the orchestrated thing most with like Planet X and Disgaea, the song.
Yeah, like Planet X is just anime music. It's like, it's not even, it's almost like European dance music sometimes. The final boss music is extremely good. And I'm glad they reserved themselves and have it only play there.
It doesn't even play against like Ball or anything.
No, I don't think so.
I just like that it's called Disgaea, even though I still don't know what that actually means or what it could possibly mean in reference to Lamington.
It means I hate the Earth.
But that doesn't make sense for Lamington. He doesn't really give a shit about anything.
Well, Laharl hates the Earth probably. And Lamington is an American citizen. Anyway, should we talk about the story now?
Yeah, I guess so. The story is definitely the biggest reason why I prefer this game over the future games. The story is like not even really a consistent story. It's more just a random string of events that happen with the only through line being the kind of overarching theme being Laharl learning to be a better overlord / leader. It's not like Disgaea 2 where Adele is like, oh, we gotta beat Xenon, and then every single chapter is them like trying to find out where Xenon is, or Disgaea 5's we have to go beat the super overlord, or whatever the hell that game was about. I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, Disgaea 2 is just they walk for a while and then they're at their destination is what it feels like.
Yeah, Disgaea 1 is more like built into 3 miniature arcs, where it's like the first arc is mostly about Laharl not learning to be such a dickhead all the time. The second is the invasion of the Earth stuff, and then the last is the invasion of Celestia. They're not all completely disconnected. Like Laharl does, really the whole main cast does have their arcs and developments throughout, but it's not nearly as focused. But that doesn't bother me at all because I really love these characters, and the voice acting helps a lot. For a PS2 game, this has like a really, really good English voice cast.
Hey, he's giving us his life story.
Should we attack now?
No, we have to listen. The rival always has a tragic past.
May I continue?
Yeah, it's impressive. I guess Atlas was good at that, because they were the people who organized all.
They were involved for Disgaea 1, and that was it, but they picked out, like... I mean, Laharl, Etna, and Flan still have the same voice actors today, and they're all really good. I honestly don't know when to talk about this, but really a big issue I have with future games is how they treat Laharl whenever he shows up. By the end of this game, obviously Laharl isn't going to be like he's not going to be like the nicest person ever. Like, he's still Laharl, but he's learned a lot about friendship and love and being a good overlord. But then, like, Disgaea 2 happens, and he's immediately even worse than he was when Disgaea 1 started. And really, it just gets worse from there. He's just really even more high-pitched. I'm not going to blame that on the voice actress. Like, she's a good voice actress, but the way that she gets directed to play Laharl in every game after this just bugs the shit out of me, both in the voice direction and just the lines that he has to read.
And here you are playing with them? This is outrageous! It's unforgivable!
It's like Flan, Edna, and Laharl are kind of actual characters in this game with arcs, whereas in future games they're way more tropey, where it's like Laharl is loud and annoying, Etna is loud and angry, and Flan is loud and annoying but in a different way.
Etna in Disgaea 2 is absolutely insufferable.
Yes. It'd be one thing if it's like future games where the casts of old games are more so like cameos, like side chapters, but Laharl and Etna are a main focus of a good chunk of Disgaea 2's story, and Etna being so bad really drags the whole plot down significantly for me.
And also she does the thing that is detestable about New Disgaea, where she always talks about what level her is and stuff.
Yes. I'm not going to deny that Disgaea, even in 1, has fourth wall breaking stuff. Like, I mean, when you encounter Ball, Laharl literally says, like, level 4,000? But
yes,
2 amplifies it to an insane degree, and it's really annoying. 2 has, what the hell is that ninja character called where she says Zam? There's like a lot more of that too, just annoying one-dimensional
Fubuki.
character quotes. Yeah, Fubuki.
Characters got one-dimensionalized.
I like the characters more than the plot of Disgaea 1, but the plot helps the characters shine.
Real quick, I laughed because Roman just said that playing Ocarina of Time is like pulling a mummy out of its sarcophagus and playing around with it. This guy one has a great like setup baseline where it's characters that are fun to like see interact with each other and others, and they go through development and they have good voice acting and the writing is decent. The writing isn't anything special, but it's funny and doesn't feel like the humor is really forced. And the plot itself is a thing where it's like three forces that kind of don't like each other have to team up against a greater evil, which I always like stories like that.
Yeah, me too. Like, my favorite kinds of plots in, like, TV shows and stuff is when the good guy and bad guy have to, like, team up to beat the bigger bad guy. Even fucking Chargeman Ken does that shit, and I actually really like that episode, despite the fact that show's kind of shitty.
It's always fun seeing characters that you enjoy being out of their comfort zone in some way. When you like a character, you want to see them in different kinds of situations. So interactions like that are always fun.
Another thing is that the story is really good at knowing when it needs to be serious.
Yeah.
Like, at the end.
Yeah, the thing is, the ending pre-final boss is very good, but then like after the boss, it just sort of ends. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you did it. Good night.
It does end kind of anticlimactically. I mean, I think the anticlimax works if you don't get the best ending, and it's like, Laharl kills Lamington, and then indirectly kills Flawn, I guess, and then he just walks the earth forever. I think that works as a good anticlimax, but yeah, for the
Yeah.
best ending, it's kind of mixed.
The pre-final boss thing is a good example of good voice acting, because Laharl's performance there is actually like extremely good.
Hey, Flan! What are you doing? I didn't say you could do this! You're going to abandon me, like my mother did. I didn't give you permission. Is this what you call love? If it is, then I'll never believe in love. Ever!
Do you despise me?
Despise you? Of course I do, you bastard! I'll kill you!
Yeah, Laharl undergoes actual development, and even like both Etna and Flawn, it's fun to watch their arcs. People from the human world don't really have arcs, they're just kind of fucked with for a while.
Yeah. I want to say this, is that 1 is probably the only game in the series of the ones that I've played where I actually really like the character design of all of the characters. Every other game, there's like one character where I'm like, eh. Like, I love Captain Gordon being a fucking... What is it?
Yeah.
Flash Gordon? Like, Gordon's voice acting is so fucking good for what kind of character he is,
Yeah.
and, like, what he's parodying.
Is that what you want? Is that really for the sake of Earth? You should know best what it feels like to be a victim, Curtis. What will your wife and daughter think up in heaven?
I really like that Hell and Earth are sort of supposed to be like analogs of anime and Western comics.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're like, they imply that they're literally different dimensions from each other.
It's weird because when you die anywhere, you go to either Celestia or another world. So it's not even like a heaven or hell thing. It's just like, I mean, I guess it is, but instead of like being on Earth, it's like, it just, you did teleport into another dimension, I guess.
Something that's cool to me is that it feels like by the end of the game, it's not supposed to be a heaven and hell thing. It's the way I read some of the subtext is that Laharl never really says it or anything, but he's like the king of hell, right? He's like, hell is the place where evil people are, so I'm evil. And then he sees how Flawn's higher-ups betray her, and he's like, damn, they're evil too. And then he sees how the human world people get betrayed, and he's like, damn, they're evil too. I guess things aren't black and white.
It doesn't, like, when he finally meets Carter indirectly, he's like, you'd make a good demon.
Yeah, I assume it's intentional that it helps Laharl be like, I guess there is kind of room for not shitheads, so maybe I should not be a shithead.
Which, yeah, ties back into the thing about how, even though the game is in noticeably different arcs, Laharl is still learning a lot about the world through the end of the game.
Yeah, nothing ever feels really like over the top or forced in terms of writing for people like Laharl or Etna, because there's a lot of points, even when Laharl is still in mostly shithead mode, he'll have moments where he's like, are you like alright right now? He doesn't just yell at everything like he does whenever he cameos.
The part where I noticed that the most is in the I don't remember the names of the chapters. It's like Etna comes to Laharl with the kid who lost his pet zombie. And Laharl's like, what the hell are you doing? Get this shit out of here. And Etna's like, no. And then and then Laharl goes back like, okay.
I feel like it's the thing where when you're about to fight his pet and he's like, it doesn't look that strong, and the kid's like, he has a horse wiener, and then Laharl's like, oh my god. Everybody get on guard.
One of the like 2 or 3 points in the entire game where he uses his like fucking exploding different art style visual novel portrait.
I feel like that's a good, like, dumb cartoon thing that's just funny without trying that hard.
One of the 2 filler chapters in the game, I would say. Well, I guess people judge filler in different ways, but...
Yeah, it doesn't feel that fillery because it's trying to further Laharl's arc. It's not just like that chapter in D2 where Laharl's a girl and then he's not a girl anymore.
It was specifically so that they could sell you that girl Laharl as DLC in future Disgaeas.
Do they?
Yeah.
Good. I buy it. 1 million.
That's why you wait for Disgaea 10 complete to come out, so they give you all 3 versions of Girl Laharl for quote-unquote free.
If they want high numbers, just make the next Disgaea like Disgaea 10 million.
It's a crossover with Disgaea and 10 million, that one Steam game.
Yeah, it's a match 3 Disgaea game.
The only filler chapter I would say is just like straight up filler is the one with the ghost defender of Earth whose like spirit is trapped in the Netherworld. Like I remember the first time, so as some kind of context, we've actually played this game co-op more than once.
Yeah.
And the first time we did it, I totally completely forgot that that chapter existed. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, I didn't remember a single thing about it, but I remembered every chapter after it. So I just, like, I memory wiped myself for some reason. Like, it's not completely without merit. It's more of a lesson learning for Flan than Laharl, where Flan is like, why the hell did you beat him? We were supposed to lose. And then the ghost is like, no, that's okay. And then he disappears.
Also, doesn't Thursday, like, almost die or whatever?
Oh yeah, because Thursday gets karate chopped early in the chapter, and he's slowly dying. Then he the ghost just uses his magic ghost powers to heal him inexplicably. I don't know. It's pretty forced.
Yeah, I guess it's just supposed to be a thing where you can see the humans doing stuff, because they don't do much besides that. They get betrayed.
Yeah, they're mostly just like, I don't know, is conduit the right word? They're like conduits for the main cast to be better characters themselves. I mean, I did care about Thursday in that I care about Jennifer and Gordon, and they care, so it made me care a little bit, even though I knew that they weren't going to take away a permanent unit from me. Again, the voice acting really fucking sells it.
Hey, hang in there, Thursday!
Gordon, Jennifer.
Don't speak, Thursday. You'll waste your energy.
Did Thursday serve his purpose?
Thursday! Yes! Of course you did, Thursday!
Thursday.
Thursday! Thursday!
Also, wait, real quick, while I'm talking about Thursday, I want to know if this is like a universal thing, but when I was playing Disgaea DS for the first time that I used Thursday's self-destruct skill, my game crashed. And that also happened to a friend of mine who also had Disgaea DS, so I want to know if that's a common thing. It never crashed after that, it was only the first time. The fact that it happened to 2 people is very strange. Anyway.
I just looked up on GameFAQs for Disgaea DS. Somebody says, I've determined what caused the game to freeze when using Arigato Roboto. If Thursday would get a level up from killing something, the game freezes. If he does not level up, you can continue playing normally.
Oh. Okay then. So that's a consistent thing then. It's not just the first time you use it. Well, considering you level up after every single enemy you kill in the entire game, that's a surprising oversight, but whatever. I doubt that the testers really cared because no one uses monster types.
They also could just be like wrong because it's a GameFAQs post from 2008.
Well, maybe people in 2008 were more likely to actually test their findings. I don't know. I'm willing to go with that explanation for now. I'm not going to bother to test it myself because I don't care. It's just a funny anecdote from when I was a kid.
Somebody responded with Arigato Roboto, blow up Thursday and the enemy and your DS. Anyways, the game does feel like it's in 3 distinct chunks that they're not even acts, it's just like the next chunk just kind of starts.
Yeah. What I like about the first act, the like Laharl learning not be such a bastard act, is that it doesn't really have a final boss. The final boss of the Earth section is like General Curtis. Does he even do you actually fight him? Whether you fight him or not, he's like the final boss of the Earth section, and then obviously Lamington is the actual final boss. But the quote-unquote final boss for Laharl's first third is that I would say it ends with the Red Moon chapter, where you get to the top, you just kind of fight some regular strong enemies, and then his mom shows up and is like, fucking get over it. And then he's like, oh, okay. It's a lot more dramatic than that. It's like, that chapter is by far my favorite in the entire game, but that's just kind of it. Like, there's not really a climactic big super boss. You don't fight like Vulcanus or mid-boss or anybody. You just kind of fight some dudes who are just doing their job, and Laharl has to like learn to deal with that himself.
I went into the game to see if you fight Carter, but I think the spaceship levels aren't there anymore because the spaceship blew up.
Wait, really? You can't redo them?
Doesn't seem like. Because it's called the Gargantuan or whatever, right? It's not here.
I mean, I never really had a reason to revisit them, but I never really considered that they wouldn't be replayable.
There's a whole like bit in the credits for the person who designed the Gargantuan.
I remember that. I mean, it is a big-ass ship. Probably got a third party to design. Because it's kind of funny to imagine, like, dude, we got all these character designers who draw, like, people and demons and monsters. None of us can draw ships. Hire someone from, like, Capcom or something.
Yeah, I feel like my favorite chapter story-wise would just be the last one. It's hard to pick, like, a strict favorite, but the lead up to the end, and the end is done well.
Definitely the most climactic thing that happens in the game.
It never makes any, like, unnecessary funnies while they're trying to be serious, which, as far as I remember, Disgaea 2 is, like, rarely fully serious.
Yeah, that's why I said that earlier. I mean, it does have its moments, like at the very end, where Adele fucking hugs the evil out of Rosalind. I don't think there's any joke
I found that
part.
so stupid. As a side note, the ending of Disgaea 2 blows, honestly. I really like Vyers' voice.
Yeah, mid-boss is, I don't remember if every Disgaea game has a mid-boss. Like, in 2, it's Axel, obviously, and he's okay. As far as characters go, mid-boss is fucking great, and his voice actor is really good. Like, his Veer's voice is kind of...
I see! So you saw my potential and decided to strike first against more? Such wonderful intuition! Well played, son of Krichevskoy! I shall show mercy on you for the sake of the lovely mademoiselle. But let moi tell you this. My name is the Dark Adonis. Huh? Is this not baseball?
bad, but I think it's intentional because
Yeah.
he's one of those obfuscating stupidity kind of characters where the further into the game you get, the slightly more serious he gets. And you actually hear both his serious and his goofy voice in the game. Some games like Virtue's Last Reward, well, this is like a semi-example. Some games try to hide that. In like another dimension where Disgaea 1 was made, I could totally see them like every scene where you're intended to hear his serious voice, he's just not voice acted, but like Lamington is. But they actually let you listen to both of his voices, and they're different enough that I think it's fairly likely you wouldn't even realize they're the same person until you get to the end of the game. Maybe I'm just really bad at identifying voice actors like that though. But yeah, Mid-Boss is a great character, and it's fun. It's like part of that the thing you just said with like there's no unnecessary funnies. Like as soon as you get into Celestia, you fight Mid-Boss, and then Laharl's like, "All right, you beat us. What's your fucking excuse now?" And then he's just like, "Well, good job. Goodbye." And then Laharl's like, "What the hell is that about?" But yeah, very good character, and the voice acting really sells it. I mean, maybe he is just like a not very good voice actor and he just got lucky, but I choose to believe that it's kind of like a Zelos thing where he's being stilted on purpose.
You have it written here that you're confused on who the main villain is?
Yeah, this... I don't know if the game could really be considered to have a main overarching villain.
It doesn't really, which is kind of neat. It's like, because the game feels less like antagonist based and more based on Laharl's character growth overall, because the game is, like I said before, it's like part of it is him learning about how shit everything is, basically. So like, the final boss being Lamington, it's like, in a game where you play as the King of Hell, the final boss being the King of Heaven makes sense, right? But then it's kind of weird because the circumstances that get you to that point where you're fighting the King of Heaven don't feel quite right, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think the way that things were going up to that point, Laharl didn't even necessarily... I think that Flan does, like, express worry that Laharl and Lamington are gonna fight each other, and Laharl probably does say something like, well, if it comes to it, I'll beat the shit out of him, or something to that effect. But I think the way that things were going, he probably wouldn't have fought Lamington. And it's only because of what happens to Flan that he loses his temper, to put it lightly, and...
Yeah, it's big. It's like, instead of fighting the King of Heaven because you're the bad guy, you fight him in the name of friendship, basically. And it's not even like a anime friendship thing. It's like, yeah, it's not even using the power of friendship. You're just upset at him.
It's like a... I don't know if you call it a parody, but it's like turning that on its head, where you're still fighting God, quotation marks. And it's kind of in the name of friendship, but more so in the name of losing it.
It's neat how he ends up hating the Lord of Heaven. Like, beginning of the game, Laharl would hate the Lord of Heaven because, you know, it's the Lord of Heaven. So obviously he's just gonna hate him by default. But he hates him at the end of the game because of, like, actually justified reasons.
I mean, Laharl even directly says, like, after Flan gets flowerized, he's like, is this what love is? Because I'm never gonna believe in this shit ever again if this is the case.
Yeah, I guess it's just cool to me that it feels like the end of the game is Laharl's led to the point where he would go anyway if he was just a bastard evil.
Yeah, he just would have gotten there in a different way without Flan.
Yeah, the game honestly has like a decent amount of subtext that I didn't think about at all when I first played.
Me too. Obviously, Lamington is the final boss, but he basically does absolutely nothing throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
It's just Vulcanus comes up to him, and Vulcanus is like, my lord, the fucking demons are evil! And he's like, okay. And then, like, that's every single interaction they have. He doesn't do nothing, because he's the one that sends Flan down to Laharl. Like, obviously, Lamington isn't a fucking idiot, because mid-boss is Khrushchevskoy. Well, I don't think they ever say it, but it's like definitely, like it definitely is, right? So it's like Lamington obviously knows that Khrushchevskoy is not the Overlord anymore. So he deliberately sends Flan to like befriend Laharl, and that sets everything in motion. But he's not really an antagonist in that way. Vulcanus is the most... I rate here like omnipresent threat, but saying he's omnipresent isn't really accurate because he mostly does all of his stuff behind the scenes, like instigating the war against the human world and like stealing Flan's pendant and stuff like that. But again, the main cast only interacts with him like twice. Yeah. And then you don't even kill him. Fucking Lamington flowers his ass and then he's just done. And then obviously General Carter leads the war against the Netherworld and is the main antagonist for a whole third of the game, but before that point and after that point he has no impact in the story whatsoever. It's just one of those arc things. There's not really an overall villain. Vulcanus is the closest thing that comes to one, but eh.
By the way, you definitely do fight Carter, because Astro Carter is one of these super bosses.
Oh yeah, I forgot he turns into a fucking Power Ranger.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last stuff I have is just my like random noteworthy moments from the story, which we've already talked about a couple. My first one is that when Laharl gets Flan's pendant back, he tells Flan that it's burning his hand because Flan mentions that earlier in the story, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's like, wait, it'll burn your hand when Mid-Boss is holding it, but it doesn't burn his hand. We know later that it actually does burn people because Vulcanus grabs it and then he gets burned. And Laharl thinks he's going to get burned when Flan gives it to him at the end. But in the beginning, when he grabs it, he's like very calmly like, this thing is burning. Please take it from me. But part of me wonders if he's just like lying to save face.
I feel like the way he reacts to it is too genuine. Like he doesn't seem like he'd be good at faking that. Like when he tells her it burns his hand. It feels like he does it too genuinely.
Yeah, the fact that he does like preemptively wince in pain when Flan gives it to him at the end of the game probably does mean that it actually does burn him. I like to think.
I think in general, the idea of the pendant where it's like, if you hold it, you're a good guy is pretty tropey.
Yes. It's at least a good early indication that mid-boss is, like, more important than he leads on.
Yeah, it's a decent, like, through line. Like, that moment at the end where he thinks it's gonna hurt him and it doesn't is kind of cool. Tropey doesn't always mean bad.
Yeah, not necessarily. TV Tropes literally has a page called, like, Tropes Are Not Bad. It's like, just because something can be described in a way that other pieces of media can doesn't make it bad. It just means that ideas are reused and redone in certain ways.
Actually, I just said Laharl doesn't seem like he'd be good at cunning. There's that one chapter where the premise is that he, like, holds the contest to see who's gonna be the Overlord or whatever.
I like that everyone just, like, believes at face value that there's a deed to being the Overlord, and not that just everything is solved with brute force.
I'm thinking of the thing where Etna's like, what, you're really gonna give it up? And he's like, no, it's a trick. And she's like, oh, that's actually smart.
And thankfully, everybody in the Netherworld's too stupid to know.
Yeah.
So in a way, really, Laharl is, either Laharl or Edna's, like, best suited to be the Overlord. So when I was talking earlier about how the main trio of this game is extremely tropey in future games, this specific moment is what I always think of, is that at the end of that chapter, once Flan gets her pendant back and she's like, your reward is that you now know you did a good deed or something, and then Laharl's like, what the fuck? And then he leaves. Edna was like, good job tricking the prince. And if this was a future Disgaea game, I guarantee that Flan would be like, what do you mean tricking the prince? I was being serious. But this Flan actually knows that she was bullshitting, that that's not what Laharl wanted from getting the pendant. I just like that moment a lot because it's like, Flan is a fucking idiot in future games, so it's nice to see her actually be smart for once.
Yeah, it's like characters can actually hold their own in intelligence.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't succumb to the sitcom thing where, like, in this scene you're the dumb one.
All the main trio's ages are, like, super fucking high. Etna and Laharl are, like, 1300 and, like, 1400, and Flan is, like, over 2,000 years old or something. She's, like, by far the oldest, because she is supposed to be the mature, like, teacher, kind of, for the three of them. But the future games just completely throw that out the window, and she just becomes, like, brain dead, basically. Again, the ages don't actually matter, it's just that's what I figured they brought up the ages for in the first place.
Yeah. I wonder if you could, like, translate their ages as just chop off the last 2 digits.
Yeah, I'm almost certain that you could do that. Because, yeah, Laharl does act like a really spoiled, like, teenager, and the first 2 numbers are 13, so that makes a lot of sense.
Although Edna being 14 is a little weird because she talks about her experiences as a kid with King Khrushchevskoy as though they happened, like, a while ago.
Yeah, I guess when it comes to that kind of thing, it's more vague. It's not a one-to-one thing, I guess. I mean, maybe Edna is just kind of like because she experienced a lot of trauma as a child, she was forced to have to be more mature earlier than her age would otherwise suggest.
You wrote a thing about Curtis here. Curtis has a whole thing going on, but, like, I never found myself caring terribly much.
Yeah, not really. I didn't write it down here, but human Curtis has an interesting design, even though he has, like, a weird Pinocchio nose, and he has cool special moves, and he's, like, half robot, or maybe he's, like, 80% robot. I forget. It's some ridiculous number like that. But then, in one of the harder maps in Celestia, he rejoins your party as a fucking Prinny. Like, monsters suck, Prinnies especially suck, and it's just weird. But most of all, it's just funny that Curtis went to hell. It makes sense because, you know, he, like, killed people, I think. He, like, made a lot of sacrifices just to get back at Gordon. But, like, in the chapter where Curtis fucking dies, Laharl does that, like, incantation to, I guess, try and make sure that he didn't go to hell, but then he went to hell anyway. So...
Yeah, that's weird. Well, they do say that you, like, repent enough and then you can not be a Prinny anymore, so maybe he just has to do less chores now.
Reduced sentence. He got a unique color. That was his thing.
I think it's generally him being a Prinny is just supposed to kind of be like a punchline and a surprising thing, but that's it.
Yeah. I mean, even the characters in the cutscene are, like, laughing at him. They're like, what the hell is this? That's probably, like, the #1 point of levity in that entire chapter is Bernie Curtis.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about that canon map now?
Early on in the human invasion arc, where you have to infiltrate the huge spaceship, the very first map is one where you have to get to the other side. When I first played this game, I didn't know that. I thought that the exit portal thing was Item World exclusive, and I didn't realize that it was a get to the other side map. Because no other story map in the game is like that. So I just took Etna at face value. She's like, why don't we kill the cannons? I was like, sure, why not? And the cannons are, like, pretty hard, but not unbeatable. If the cannons were, like, level 2000 or something, I'd be like, okay, I'm probably not supposed to kill them. But they're not that much higher level than you would be at that point of the game. And it's really easy to, like, cheese the cannons where you stand behind some geometry so that the bullets can't get to you. So I just did some grinding and beat the stage by killing the cannons, and when I told my friends about it later on, because Disgaea DS was actually like one of very few games where a lot of my friend group actually bought it and played it, they were all like, what the hell is your problem? I was like, well, I listened to Edna, and they're like, why would you listen to Edna? And I don't know. But whatever, I did it. One of my friends fucking level grinded to beat the obviously not supposed to be winnable match against the 5 super Overlord demons. Or the 10, like, super Overlord demons in that Deed of Netherworld chapter. So, I don't want to hear it from him. Fucking bullshit.
Yeah, the least they could have done in the canon map is have the exit thing look like the Item World exit, because it's difficult to tell that is an exit.
One of my friends told me that the map, the camera starts on the exit portal and then pans over to your base panel, but I swear it doesn't do that. Maybe it does in like one of the fucking 5 versions of this game, but at least in DS, I swear it doesn't. I think Chapter 5 is my second favorite chapter, the one where Etna's scheme gets like outed with Medeiros. It's kind of a thing where all 3 of the characters kind of clash, where it's like Laharl is the one getting betrayed, obviously. Etna is the one betraying Laharl, but also being betrayed by Medeiros. And Flan is in the middle being like, what the hell is going on? Why is everyone in the Netherworld betraying each other so much? And then all that stuff happens where before the Medeiros fight, actually I'm just remembering that the way they beat Medeiros is that mid-boss shows up and tells Laharl to close his eyes and plug his ears. The Medeiros is like, oh, fuck. It's a little goofy, but, you know. And I mostly really like the chapter because of the way that it ends, because after you beat Medeiros, Laharl gives, like, the laundry list of reasons of why he should hate Etna. And Flan at first is even, like, preemptively like, wait, Laharl, no! But then he's like, but that was really impressive that you did that, so good job. And just their dialogue there is really good.
It's nice as a moment where it's like, because he's still kind of an asshole at that point in the story, but it's a nice moment where you like give somebody credit.
He's not yelling, he's not like super pissed, he's just impressed at the lengths that Etna was willing to go for. Because Etna was the reason why he was poisoned at the beginning of the game, so it's like all of that was Etna's fault and Laharl just can't help but be impressed. The only thing that drags the scene down for me, and this kind of happens a few times throughout the game, is that after that's over, the camera pans over to Flan being like, wow, that's weird, people resolve their differences in ways that I'm unfamiliar with. And it feels kind of children's showy. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Game generally has restraint from doing stuff like that.
I understand that to a certain extent, Flan is kind of supposed to be the audience surrogate. Not completely, because she's also from an alien world, but scenes like that just kind of remind me of that, and I wish they weren't in the game after all. Or at least if you're gonna have the scene, don't be so, like, heavy-handed about it.
I wonder if that auto hotkey script is still on my computer.
Are you gonna try it?
Yeah, I have Disgaea Cave of Ordeals 3 grind and Disgaea Demon Hall Mirror grind. So now if I press F2, let's watch it.
That's so fast.
I know. I had to spend a decent amount of time fine-tuning it so that wasn't like too fast and dropped input.
You're still not pressing anything, right? Like it just takes a minute.
It takes a minute to go to the next level because sometimes you like get extra items or something. Oh, you know what it was? I kept getting the message where it says your warehouse is full, which lasts a while for some reason.
Oh, okay. You got that many items. Well, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You can do like 5 of these per minute or something.
Yeah, look at that damn 2 million. Can you get the number to have a B next to it?
I don't know. I once saw an AGDQ thing of a guy, like, it was a run of Disgaea 5, I think, because you can make your own custom maps in that game, and he set up, like, the most damage you can do with a single attack in the game or something, and I can't remember what the fucking number said. I mean, first of all, there's no commas, so it's not like I'd be able to read it anyway, but the little number over the character, I don't remember what it said. Well, this has been informative.
Yeah, this is a good screensaver.
You'd never be able to know if it loops or not.
Let's see what the Demon Hall one looks like.
Bonus rank 45, it goes above 40?
Apparently. Wow. Super bonus.
Super bonus. Okay.
You get the super bonus every time. I think super bonus is 10 million.
Man, this is amazing.
Yeah.
The Prinny baseball scene is fucking great. One of my favorite cutscenes where most of the dialogue is delivered by the Prinnies. And then they even have like their own fucking soundbite for a guy saying like, play ball!
Yeah.
And then Etna and Laharl are just like,
Etna,
Yes?
kill him!
Certainly.
that's like the best piece of dialogue in the whole game.
When I first got to that map, I thought it was going to be like a gimmick where you actually play baseball.
One of the easiest maps in the game because you can just throw the Prinnies. Prinnies don't get very much experience in the first place, so whatever. Veers' like goofy guy persona or character is obviously a farce, but there's one part in the game where it's really weird because even though his goofy guy character is not what he actually is like, at the end of the Invasion of the Netherworld arc, he invades Carter's ship and is like, I will personally make sure you go to hell or something. I can't remember what exactly he says, but basically he just intimidates Carter to never do anything like this again, which is fine. But the weird thing is that to himself, he's like, I'm so cool and awesome. Which is, it's a line that's only there to obfuscate the viewer. Like, if you were starting to think that he might be actually a serious character, they want to, like, rein you back to be like, nope, this guy's still weird.
Maybe he's just having fun getting into character.
Maybe. It's not a huge deal, because it's just, like, one little line of dialogue. Every time I see it, it just throws me off. So I did say that the Red Moon chapter is my favorite. The only real issue I have with it is that the Red Prinny shows up like 3 times total. She shows up once in one little cutscene when they're ransacking Mid-Boss's castle. She shows up to give Flan some medicine, and both of these scenes last like fucking 10 seconds or something. And then she becomes the main focus of Chapter 8, the Red Moon chapter. I still think that the Red Moon chapter works extremely well for what it is, but it is weird that, I don't know, maybe they intended to have her have a bigger role, but yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine what might have gotten cut behind the scenes. That has always been a thing that struck me as weird, is that such an important character doesn't get nearly enough screen time.
I honestly never really thought about that.
I think about that in a lot of games, how seemingly unimportant characters will show up to do like one really big story-changing moment and then just fuck off. There's also something, like this is another kind of trope. Laharl's mom had to sacrifice her own life to save Laharl, and the details behind how this happened are so vague that I don't even know. Like, it's sad, especially considering it happened to little baby Laharl, but it's just like, there's basically no details about it, and this kind of does strike me as a plot thing that wouldn't hurt to have a little more clear details on what actually went down. Like, what kind of sickness requires that you kill yourself? Like, a third party has to kill themselves for the cure. I don't know, just some netherworld magic shit, I guess, but it's weird.
Yeah, it does kind of just feel like a make the story more dramatic thing more than anything else.
If anything, there actually should have been less details about it, where they could have said, like, she sacrificed her life, but be way more vague about it. I don't remember exactly when they say she killed herself for a cure for some disease, but if they just left it at, like, she sacrificed herself, you could interpret that as, like, maybe Laharl was, like, in danger of being killed by a bunch of random demons, but his mom, like, teleported escorted him out of there, but she ended up being killed before she could escape. I don't know. They either should have had less details or more details, because the way it is now is, yeah, just kind of like dramatic for the sake of having a sad moment. Alright, well, that's all I got.
Me too. I feel like we had a pretty good discussion.
But yeah, even though it has a lot of flaws, Disgaea 1 will probably never be beaten for me. The last games I bought were the Prinny duology on Switch for like $10, but otherwise the only games I've bought are 1, 2, and D2, I guess. I'll probably never get into the series for real ever again, but at least I've got one game I like.
The story and the characters are really good, and the voice acting is really good, and there's not much caveat. They just did good.